Shabbat Shalom. Wow, what a thrill to see you in multiple dimensions, your beautiful faces. It's wonderful to be here, even behind plexiglass and a mask. And it is now my joy to be calling up our bat mitzvah, virtually calling up Juliet Burkhoff along with her mom and family. She's going to be kindling the Shabbat light. Yay! Go for it. You have the candles there.
Go ahead and say the bracha, Julia.
Yeah, you can say the blessing and we'll kindle the light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam kishanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlikner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We continue on page 12 with the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, Lefu Nerananah. Maria, Maria,
on page 13. Shiru Adonai Shir Hadai.
Shiru Adonai Shir Hadai, Shiru Adonai Haaretz, Shiru Adonai Baruch Shemo Asmini Yeshua Adon, Zakur Lekoim
Page 14.
Paragraph, page 14. Oh, now for Psalm 98.
Turning to page 18.
Turning to page 20 and 21, we welcome Shabbat, the words of the Father D.
Never good when your mascara starts running into your mouth. That was emotional. Okay, 22. Song 92.
His voice through the old Shabbat,
need to let go of and release. Feeling whole on page 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon.
Page 30.
Page 32. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Arim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta maham v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uvshokbecha uvkumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם.
אמן.
So, there's a lot always to get used to when maybe you're out of a familiar location. And for me, one of the things that I've had to struggle to get used to being in these many weeks in Jerusalem is just getting used to seeing guns. They're everywhere. They're in the hands of IDF soldiers, and they're at checkpoints, and they're in people's back pockets with the seat hanging over them. And it's just, they're at the, the guard at the door, they're around. And sort of adjusting myself to the idea of weapons as necessary, perhaps for a level of physical protection. So the words that I offer now are not about gun ownership per se, but about what happens to the soul of a nation when mass shootings become normative. In the past 30 days alone, 45 mass shootings, according to some. I'm just going to list the cities in which they've happened in the last month. Gresham, Stockton, Orange, Houston, Yazoo City, Dallas, Aliceville, Memphis, Boulder, Chicago, River Grove, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tuscaloosa, Virginia Beach, Wilmington, Norfolk, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, Essex, and just yesterday in Indianapolis at a FedEx facility, leaving 8 dead. Yes, COVID represents a massive threat to the well-being of our nation, but there is another epidemic afoot. So now is a time to take action, to express our concerns, to call our elected officials, and together to act in order to effect healing and change. May we have the strength and the vision to do so. Micha Mocha is on page 40.
In honor of Yom Ha'atzmaut this week, a special melody for Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam zeini anu ve'yameru zeini anu ve'yameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugolo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Shalom Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Shalom Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Shalom. Lift us up, Adonai. You'll bring your peace unto us all. Spread your wings and keep us safe. Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Leshalom, leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol ve'amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
The Shamru is on page 44.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise in body or spirit for the Amidah. It's on page 46.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. We're on page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue on our own, standing or seated, as is your custom or comfort. We'll meet up again on page 62 in just a few minutes.
Please feel free to continue your private meditations at your own pace. If you've finished, please join with me for a final plea for peace at the bottom of page 62. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, ya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Oh, ya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael amen. Just want to say that with the words of shalom on our lips, shlemut is not merely the absence of war nor the concept of peace, but that of wholeness. And as we daven here tonight together, it feels so wonderful to have so many of you in the room. It feels wonderful to hear your voices. That makes me feel complete. I'm so glad you're here.
That's for sure. We turn now to our prayer for healing, giving each other strength in body and spirit. It's on 253. Inviting you to add names to the chat, of course, to offer them in your hearts as we offer Misha Berach. 253.
Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha LaAvoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach Or ha-bracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. No, let's actually, yeah, let's hear from the mayor.
Yeah, okay. Hello. Oh my God, it's so good to be here. It's so good to be here. It's unbelievable. I might cry. I don't know. It's been a very emotional bunch of weeks for me, for maybe many of us, on so many different reasons. Before I share my prepared thought, I want to tell you that my cardiologist said to me, I was talking to him about, I'm really looking forward to being in the synagogue because there's going to be 30 or 50 people. Can you hear me? It's going to be, I don't know how, Lee, is that you going like this? Sorry, yeah. Is this better? I won't move. Is this better? David, Barbara? Okay. Okay. I told my cardiologist I'm going to be in services. This is not a joke, although it sort of sounds like it's starting out like one. Elliot, sorry. I said, I'm looking forward to being at services, and, it's so unbelievable to be with people, and I happen to be a hugger. And he's like, listen, Mayor, I want to tell you something that, knowing you a little bit, I can imagine it'll be great for you to hug 30 or 50 people, but I want to suggest to you that you hold off on that, and instead arrive at the services a little late and leave a little early. So that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to do, because it's probably the only way I can avoid hugging every one of you. How amazing it is to be back in the sanctuary with all of you who are here, all of those of you who are on Zoom and live stream, with you, dear Cancer Adam, Shai, and to be with you, Tara, together for Shabbat services. It's been painfully too long. This past week, we Jews in Israel and all over the world, we've observed Yom HaZikaron, and then immediately after Yom HaAtzmaut. Wait, I need to enlarge this a little bit. Not only as my, oh, there we go, perfect. I think I can do it. Hold on, I'm gonna get to it, don't worry. It's not gonna be a bust. Here we go. So, this past week in Israel and all over the world, we observed Yom HaZikaron, and then immediately after Yom HaAtzmaut. Tara's going to focus on the latter, and I want to open with some personal reflections that relate to Israel's Day of Remembrance. Fundamentally, Yom HaZikaron is Israel's Memorial Day. It's the day to remember our brothers and sisters who have fallen in war and terror in defense of and on behalf of the state since its founding in 1948. More broadly, Israel's Day of Remembrance is about the fundamental fragility of life for every Israeli family, for every Jew, and really every human being. Yom HaZikaron, as a day of remembering, requires us to make a choice. How do we remember? How do we erase or eradicate or maybe sanctify or honor our hardest experiences of fear, anxiety, and uncertainty? Of course, I wouldn't compare myself, my recent surgery, with that of a soldier on the front line. Nonetheless, having my chest opened, having my heart put on a bypass machine, even if just to replace my mitral valve, has brought me closer to my mortality and to my maker than I've ever felt before. It is the closest I've ever come to surviving a life-threatening experience. So I want to open by sharing a little of what I've learned about the heart and about my surgery. I know nothing more than what I'm about to tell you right now. The mitral valve is located on the left side of the heart, between the left atrium above and the left ventricle below. When the left atrium above fills with blood, the mitral valve opens to allow blood to flow to the left ventricle below. The valve then closes to prevent blood from flowing back in the reverse direction. And all of this happens in a matter of seconds as the heart beats. To be clear, I knew none of this before my surgery. I didn't research even but for a minute information about any of our 4 heart valves, the pulmonary valve, the aortic valve, the tricuspid valve, and my favorite, or maybe my least favorite, the mitral valve. What my amazing surgeon reported after surgery is that my mitral valve was even worse than they expected. It was like a stone. The flaps didn't move and the leaflets didn't open or close. It's a very fortunate thing that I've tracked my valve for more than 15 years, that I had my annual cardio check when I did in early-ish March, and that I had access to such amazing caregivers, starting with my surgeon. I want to share one small aspect of my experience. I'm not offering any grand insight. Each of you will hear and take away something different. There's no point or premise. I just find one aspect of my experience really interesting, and I think it relates to Yom HaZikaron and then Ha'atzmaut. Upon learning that my valve needed serious medical care, I knew immediately that I didn't want to delay. I knew inside that I wanted my surgery to happen immediately, ASAP. It took 10 days from learning that I needed surgery to being in that operating room. And during those days, I worked hard to understand 2 questions. First, could the valve be repaired, which is a short procedure with a short and easy recovery? That was the first question. But I quickly learned that I wasn't a candidate for repair. It wasn't really an option for me. So my second question was, what's better, a mechanical valve or a tissue valve? I was a quick and solid study on that question, on mechanical versus tissue. I did my research, asked the questions I needed to ask. I decided clearly that I would get a tissue valve, not a mechanical one. And for those who can't resist asking, I'm the proud recipient of a cow valve. But here's where my story becomes interesting, at least to me. I didn't ask a single question about the surgery itself. How would they enter my heart? Is there a non-invasive kind of laparoscopic option? What kind of device would you use? A chainsaw or some fine precision instrument? I had no clue as I entered the OR. How will you access my heart? What will my heart be doing during the surgery? What about anesthesia? There are, of course, thousands of questions, none of which I asked. Somehow, my curiosity disappeared. Much of my life is organized around questions, curiosity, a penetrating desire to understand. But in maybe the most fragile, dangerous moment of my life, that natural, innate, sometimes annoying quality, my need to ask questions, it vanished. My surgery happened. Dr. Hartman, my surgeon, called Tara to tell her it was a success. The valve was decidedly worse than they expected, but I now have a new and wonderful valve. I came out of surgery and spent 5 nights in CTR, the cardiac thoracic recovery. CTR is for heart care what the ICU is for all others. The doctors and nursing staff were amazing, unbelievable, incredible, virtually all of them. And those next 5 nights were the hardest of my life. So many lines and tubes and catheters. Who knew that getting up from the lying position was an Olympic event? How in the world does anyone get through this? I asked myself. Encumbered with so many bodily attachments, prohibited from using my arms, my chest muscles, the blessing of pain meds, of narcotics, and also their curse, blood pressure issues, can't sleep, bathe, poop, so little desire to eat. It was brutal and scary. There was so much uncertainty. I felt profoundly mortal and vulnerable. On day 4, for the first time, I saw my chest. I went to a bathroom. There was a mirror. I was shocked to see the incision, which had already begun to heal. I quickly closed my gown. I was too scared to see myself. It was too raw. I wasn't ready. It's almost funny. Guy goes to the hospital for heart surgery, and then on day 4, he's shocked to see a serious incision. His lack of curiosity so powerful, he was a bit stunned to see an incision. It was clean and beautiful, but an incision nonetheless. But on day 5, 12 hours later, something began to shift. I took a picture of my chest. Don't know why or how my mind or heart changed in less than a day. And then for the next 3 days, I took pictures of my chest. So interesting how the mind and soul changes, evolves. As I said, I was never a soldier. I never even came close to a fist fight. But the fear, anxiety, uncertainty I felt 3 weeks ago was nothing I ever imagined or cared to imagine. There were moments in which I wasn't sure I had the emotional strength to endure whatever I would need to endure. For me, having asked so many questions in my life, more questions before surgery, before entering that stark, scary, all-white operating room, wouldn't have helped me at all. And then about 10 days ago, something inside shifted. I began to feel curious. I asked, how did you do it? How is my sternum and chest opened? How is it being held together? How is it all attached now? Will I set off metal detectors? What's the journey from Yom HaZikaron to Atzmaut, the Day of Remembrance, to Independence Day? I don't have a scientific answer. I just have a humble personal experience. Each of us, each of you probably does too. Curiosity is part of the answer. In the midst of our battle, we take in whatever limited pieces of information we're able to absorb, but no more. We fight our battle, we preserve our lives for another hour, another day. A dear doctor friend of TBE member said to me, Mayor, nights are really hard. You can't sleep. Just get to the next hour, 1 hour at a time. That's all you have to do. It was great advice. It helped me 4 nights in a row. Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day, is about a grand, eternal vision, a sense of purpose and mission that will transform humanity throughout eternity. But Yom HaZikaron is about surviving the hour, pushing ourselves another 60 minutes, pushing ourselves to tomorrow, just another day. Yom HaZikaron asks us, what will we remember? What will we choose to forget? That, in essence, is my surgery experience. And every one of you, every one of us, has a challenge, a threat, a serious, maybe even dire concern of our own. You, like me, avoid some big questions. You may actively avoid learning more or asking more. Curiosity can raise our sights, but it can also intensify our fears and our anxiety. It can liberate, but it also can paralyze. And then something may shift. My surgery moment and Yom HaZikaron are moments in which we choose not to remember. We choose not to ask. For the days preceding my surgery, it was willful ignorance. I needed it. I had no choice. When several family members or friends tried to nudge me in a different direction, I resented it. I didn't like it. No questions. That was what was best for me. I couldn't absorb more. More information would bring more anxiety. More questions would create more worry, more vulnerability. And God willing, we fight and we struggle through enough hours, enough days, that we feel a shift in our hearts. And we again hear questions. Our curiosity begins to return. We see tomorrow. We believe again that we have a future. There's light. There's hope. There's atzmaut, freedom, aspiration, a sense of mission. And now it's Tara's turn.
Okay, I'll make it brief, but I just want to take us out of the OR. It's always a good thing, okay? So, here we are, Yom Ha'atzmaut yesterday. I want to speak just a little bit about these symbols, and really, these, I think, relate very deeply to some of the ideas Mayor was just talking about. So picture this. It's 1897, the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland. And Theodore Herzl says, what are we going to do for the flag? Like, what's going to be our symbol? And as the issue was debated, one David Wolfson, a German Jewish businessman born into a traditional Lithuanian family, stood up and he pulled out his talit and he said, here is our national flag. The talit in which we wrap ourselves when we pray, that is our symbol. Let us unroll it before the eyes of Israel and the eyes of all nations. So why the white and blue? Well, some prayer shawls have black stripes, some have blue. The ones that have blue are reminding us about the blue fringe, the techelet, the turquoise that in ancient times decorated each corner. The numerical value of the word for fringes, tzitzit, if you add up each letter in that word, tzitzit, you get 600. Then you add in 5 knots on each corner, and then 8 strings. 600, 5, 8 comes to 613, the number of commandments in the Torah. Thus, the blue and white of the Israeli flag reminds us of our constant striving to live by God's mitzvot. We often think of our flags as symbols of pride and power. Oh, I forgot I can take this off. Pride and power. But they are even more than this. The flag of Israel, because of its blue and white, is a symbol of obligation. And there's more about the blue. In Judaism, God is described metaphorically as sitting on a sapphire, a blue throne. So the blue reminds of the sky, of creation. So if Yom HaZikaron is about thinking about mortality, the earth, loss, limitation, the Israeli flag and Israel's Day of Independence lifts our gaze upward to all that is infinite and beyond us. And just one last thought, the Magen David, this star. Well, the top triangle points up to the sky and the lower triangle down to the earth, reminding us that it is our task, even through medical challenges and so much more, to be a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. The 12 lines that make up the outside circumference of the Jewish star, that's the 12 tribes of Israel coming together in a larger unity. And the 6 points of the star, that can be like the 6 days of the week, with Shabbat as the sacred space all the way on the inside. So I'll close with a story. March 10th, 1949, the very conclusion of the War of Independence. Israeli soldiers finally arrived down in Eilat, that southernmost point on the Red Sea, The Jordanians have abandoned the city. Thus, Israel at last captures this vital port on the Red Sea. They want to fly an Israeli flag to display it atop the Eilat police headquarters, but they can't find a flag anywhere. So one soldier just takes a ballpoint pen and draws those blue stripes, and another one tears the Jewish star from the first aid kit and sews that beloved emblem in the center of the sheet. In this way, a handmade flag was placed atop Eilat's police headquarters at the consummating military moment of Israel's War of Independence. So on this Shabbat, in which we're really marking the end of a week in which we've had Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, may we remember that homemade flag and all it represents. Lines that remind us of the unity of our people, the centrality of Shabbat, the blue of obligation and aspiration, the blue that connects us to creation, to our history, and forms a bridge to the future, a future that we can create ourselves, even against all odds. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Okay, Sfirat HaOmer. We're going to count the Omer. Anyone know what day it is? 20. We are counting day 20 tonight. Want to take it away, Cancer? Want me to?
We are on page 278. Hineni mukhanum zoman, hineni mukhanum zoman, hineni mukhanum zoman, lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer.
Hayom Ezrim Yom Shehem Shnei Shavuot V'Shisha Yamim La Omer. Today we're at 20 days, which is 2 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. Let's rise now for Aleinu 282.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. I forgot the prayer book was holding up the light. Okay. And we're thinking of all of those who have held up the light that is our lives. As I prepare to recite the names on the Kaddish list, I just want to draw your attention to the names on the plaques over on the side of our memorial wall. And just thinking of Gloria Landsberg, who lights the lights next to every name we're remembering every week and finds the names that are placed on the wall. There are a lot of them this week. I think she said 42. So if you hear the name of someone you have come to remember, please rise when you hear that name. Also feel free to add any names from memory to the Zoom. This week, we lay to rest Barbara Gordon, beloved stepmother of Donna Perez. And in the past 30 days, Ingrid Hecker, Salvador Levy, Ethel Pomerantz, and Ethan Sisser. And observing the yard sites this week for Anna Abramson, Lambert L. Adler, Solomon Abraham, David Appleman, Jonas Diamond, Howard Extract, Anna Green, Dorothy S. Hirsch, Miriam Jaffe, Irving Cursius, Lillian Cursius, Rose Landsberg, Michael Levine, Larry Lieberman, Goldie B. Marks, Sally Nevins, Arthur Neuwirth, Lou Rosenblum, Maxine Schneider, Ronald R. Spiegel, Helen Zahner, Jack Zitron, and William Lowenthal. And any other names, please? If it's your custom to rise with the mourners, please do. We are on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'bizman kariv yimru.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemed kudsha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata da'miran bi'alma v'yimru.
Amen.
Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, to all humanity. We say one last time, Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. So very quickly, a few announcements. We're working on shortening them. Always check your emails. It's all in there. Thank you for hosting our virtual Oneg tonight, Dorit. Tomorrow morning, Torah study at 9. We'll be celebrating Juliet Burkhoff's bat mitzvah at 10:30. Monday and Thursday morning minyan continuing on at 7:15. Thank you so much, Cantor Davis. Send in your Mother's Day pictures for May 7th for our Modine moment. Send them to Jackie Wadsworth. Sunday, annual rabbinic dialogue, 10 a.m. You have to sign up and register. Please do so. And Sunday evening at 7, Zentangle and Zinfandel, sponsored by our adult B'nai Mitzvah, 7 p.m. Jewish Global Grooves, Music of Morocco. Cantor Adam will be presenting that on Thursday night at 7. And on Saturday evening, amazing cantorial concert, Songs of Hope, Healing, and Love. That's 7 p.m. the 24th.
8 p.m.
Sorry?
8 p.m.
Oh, 8 p.m. Announcement's wrong. 8 p.m. And final one, on Sunday, April 25th, a rally for unity and love, united against hate, a day of solidarity, particularly with our Asian neighbors, 12:30 Firefighters Park. Okay. Thank you very much, Linda Diamond and Maria Margoloff and Ronit Pearl for our Oneg to go. And we are going to close with Kiddush and Motzi. So Burkhoffs, come back if you would. We are on page. It's been a while. 4. Okay, guys, we are ready whenever you are. Go for it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yavav ratzon inchelanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishi, ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher tziad Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. Back to the Burkhoffs. I'll lift up God.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. That represents 3 generations of TBE membership in that screen. It's an amazing thing. Oh, I can't help myself. One last announcement. Before you go to the anti-hate rally, shed your meds. Don't put all of your medications into the trash and then into our water, or God forbid, down the toilet. Bring them to our Shed the Meds event. There are flyers everywhere. We need clean water. Okay. Cantor, take us home.
Let's conclude on page 374. And I invite you to rise one last time as we sing Hatikva. Kolot balev apnima, nefesh yehudi homiya, ulfatei mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvateinu, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון ירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Thank you so much to our ushers. Thank you, those who helped set us up, for making this possible.